Right, Paul, shall we make a start? Yeah. So, just as a formality, just welcome to everybody for joining us today. I'm Vipul Sheth from AdvanceTrack, and I'm joined today by Paul Shrimpling. And we're going to be talking about the Accountants Growth Academy and how that has helped a number of firms and why we're helping to support that for a number of our clients and people like yourselves joining today. Just a bit of admin. This is recorded, so if you do end up leaving or you lose a connection, it will be available on our website, hopefully later today, but certainly no later than tomorrow morning. And hopefully everyone can hear. Can you just raise your hands just to confirm that you can hear us fine? Great, fantastic. Okay. Just by way of intro, I'm Vipul Sheth. I'm a chartered accountant, chartered tax advisor, trained in a 4-partner office many moons ago as an auditor. Went to EY, KPMG, did tax, started AdvanceTrack in 03. So I've done that. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask them as we go along. This is live, and Paul and I will try and cover as many of those over the next hour as we can. That's intros done from my part. Paul, if you want to take over in terms of slides, and we'll get on with the webinar.
Brilliant. Thanks for that intro, Vipul. For those who don't know me, Paul Shrimpling. I've been working with accountants for the last 18 years exclusively, with 2 exceptions. I did a tiny bit of work for an IFA and a tiny little bit of work for a legal firm, and realised that that was definitely not where my passion lay. So other than those 2 infractions, I've spent all of my time in the last 18 years working with accounting firms that probably look very like yours. And in what ways I've been helping them, it's very simple really. Firms tend to want to hook up and work with me if they want to improve their capital value, their profits, the cash at bank, and also the pride and enjoyment of running their accounting firm. My background before consulting, advising, and acting in a sort of non-exec capacity for accounting firms was as a managing director of a manufacturing business. So I'm very much a sort of production workflow guy, as well as a sales and marketing guy, and how to get the best out of your team guy. To a degree, they're the fundamental foundations of the Accountants Growth Academy, which I'm going to run through with you now. So the outcome of this webinar is to give you enough information that hopefully enables you to commit to joining us for a day, which won't cost you a penny in hard cash. I appreciate it'll cost you in terms of time and getting there. But I'll run through the economics of that very shortly. So let me share a few slides that I've generated.
And whilst you're doing that, Paul, just for the benefit of everyone, hopefully you're aware, we're running an event on the 20th of June, and we'd love you to take that time out of your day. But there's also a plan for one later on in the year as well, if the one in a couple of weeks is a little bit too soon for you to join. But it'd be great if you can, because there'll be a number of firms there in the room.
And we can always open one-on-one dialogue with you if you want to talk through that in more detail, and I'll introduce you to my team later in these slides. So, the Accountants Growth Academy, there is a focus on growth from 2 perspectives: growing your firm, your results, but also growing the results of your business owner clients as well, because the cornerstone of the whole Growth Academy is the relationship between you and your business owner clients. And if we can improve the number of clients you're working with in this sort of setting, one-on-one and in advisory capacity, or even just looking at the historical financial data, then you'll be doing a bigger, better, stronger job. If those meetings can be more valuable to the clients, likewise, it's going to impact on their perception of value, and therefore what you can charge in the additional services they end up buying from you. And if you can get more people across your firm in meetings that look like this, then similarly you're able to scale and leverage the impact on your customers as well as your firm. And so what certain things have to happen in order for you to do more of this, do better at this, and get more of your people to do this meeting piece between you and your clients. Now, yes, it can be virtual. but there's nothing quite as powerful as a face-to-face meeting with a client. The
Paul, Paul, would you mind just speaking up?
Yeah, sure.
Tiny bit, please. Thanks.
I don't have a problem speaking up, Vipul, as you know. I will go louder. Last year, I published some research into 12 accounting firms who I gave them the label of advisory first accountants. But ultimately, behind the advisory work that these firms are doing with their clients, lots of their clients and earning lots of fees and profits from it, is a fundamentally effective accountancy practice, what my colleague Douglas calls being brilliant at the basics. And that's really what the Growth Academy is actually about, the Accountants Growth Academy. That enables you and your firm not just to talk about the past with your clients, but also to talk about the future with your clients, past results, and also conversations in and around management accounts and forecasting, and maybe even full-blown consultancy advisory work with a future focus. But to begin with, it's very much let's get brilliant at the basics within your accounting firm, so that the work around annual accounts and management accounts and payroll and all the nuts and bolts of running your accounting firm run smoothly, run efficiently, run profitably, and generate the cash flow that you want for your practice. Now, this is Jenny Ward from a firm in Belfast who's on the Accountants Growth Academy now. We've already got a group running. They've been running for a few years. And I went out to see Jenny last week, actually in Belfast, last week, week before in Belfast, just to check in and run one of the accountability meetings that are part of the Academy. And they've, in the time we've been working together on the Growth Academy, have transformed their firm in terms of the way they work with the team and scale and leverage what the team are doing, and growing people in the team so that they do less work within the practice. And it's quite a profound result. So I use that as an example to go, look, this isn't hypothetical, theoretical, how do we set up a Growth Academy? It's been running for a number of years. It's working for 11 firms who come together 3 times a year. And what we're looking to do is invite you and some like-minded accountants to join us on the next group, which we're going to be launching later in the year. The starting point of that is a test drive, which is why I've got this guy diving into what I think is a BMW, but I can't be entirely sure. So that you test drive the Growth Academy. So we give you the opportunity to have a deep dive into what and how we do what we do, so that you can see that there's real value here. It's not just sales pitch or hypothetical. There's some real substance to it with the Growth Academy. Just so that you know, if you definitely want to join us on the 20th of June, what we need to do is drive you to the AdvanceTrack website. And if you look at that events tab on the drop-down menu, you'll see that there's a Growth Academy button you can press. So if you were to click that, this page will come up, and then you can scroll down to this form, fill that form in, and then we'll be in dialogue with you to get you along to the June the 20th and give you all the details. By the way, it's in Birmingham, just so we've made it middle of the country, trains, planes and automobiles, dead easy to get to the Birmingham NEC area. So that's how you join us if you choose to, on the 20th of June, as we've said. And the goal really is that you leave that day feeling this degree of optimism about the future of your accounting firm, and also have a real belief that as you go through the program, as you go through the academy over the 12 months, 24 months, 36 months and beyond, you actually see yourself in that position because your firm is running so well, it needs less of you, and it's generating the results that you and your team want. And also, you know, your clients are immeasurably happy with what you're doing and how you're doing it with them. So I need to give you a number, I think, to put into context the value of the Accountants Growth Academy. And I've chosen the dartboard with, as you can see, if you do the maths on that score, it adds up to 120, I believe. And I want to give you a 3-year perspective on the value of the Accountants Growth Academy. And this is what me and my team are looking to do with every firm in the room, is enable you to be £120,000 better off by the time you've walked through 3 years, 9 events, whole processes around accountability and support, so that you get what you want out of this process. Now, you can look at this in a number of ways. That could be £120,000 for the firm. It could be £120,000 per partner, because I reckon it is feasible, more than feasible, for each partner in a firm to improve the performance of the firm to the tune of £120,000, which sounds really ambitious, I know, but based on what we've been seeing in the firms that we're working with and the experiences I've got over the last 18 years of working one-on-one with firms, we've got a really good insight into what makes firms tick, what they need to stop doing, what they need to start doing, what they need to do more of and what they need to do less of in order to generate £120,000.
Cool.
Yes, Vipul.
Can I just? I mean, one of the things that I find and this is not to sort of say other programs don't have value. I think for me the key is that there's a lot of programs, but they don't have the accountability piece.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're going to talk about that during the rest of the call.
Absolutely.
But do you find it's that and that shared experience within the group that helps? What's the key thing?
What's the magic juice?
Well, there's no magic. You know, there'll be a whole host of things, but you know, for me, I would say I've been to many things, and you make a list of things, and I met those people 6 or 12 months later, and the list is the same, and they go away, and it starts again.
It fritters away. And you're right, Vipul. The key, there's a number of components that add up to achieving the result. And certainly, one is the accountability piece. 2 is, and actually it comes in the other order really, it's the number 1 is high value content, ideas, insights and strategies that have proven to work in other accounting firms. Because if they worked in, you know, a sole practitioner turning over £500,000 or a multi-partner firm turning over 5.5 million, then it can probably work for all firms. And so there's content which is proven to work, whether it be attached to workflow planning, getting clients onto direct debits, price increases, you know, team efficiencies, reducing write-offs, whatever it is. So it's content that we know works because we see it work in other firms based on the work we've been doing with them. Second is there is no point in coming along to an event without committing to action. And the final quarter of every workshop we put on is dedicated to driving the firm to get an absolute clarity on exactly what they're going to do and when they're going to do it as a consequence of being in the workshop, the Growth Academy workshops.
Sure.
That's number 2. Number 3 is then an accountability process. And, you know, there are other programs that are out there, but I don't know of any where the accountability piece is we go to your office.
Yeah.
And between every workshop, there's a visit to your office to work with you and your team in order to ensure that you install and instill the stuff, the strategies, the insights, the actions that you committed to at the Growth Academy workshop.
And I think that is, for me, I always see success or failure is never down to the decision makers. It's the people they then empower to make those decisions happen.
Yeah. And one of the things we've done on the workshop, and to begin with, when we started this, it was partner directors only. And then 1 or 2 partners says, can we bring our managers along? Well, yeah, bring your managers along. And now the 11 firms that are on the existing Growth Academy that's been running for a few years, we've got an event, in fact, the day before the 20th, and there's going to be something like 34 to 36 people in the room, because it's a blend of the managers and key people and the partners and directors. And what's happening is they're on the way home back from the event, working out how as a group to install and implement stuff so that they get back into their office and they've got time scheduled to install what they've agreed that they would do. So you hit on another component, Vipul, which is not just about the owner directors, is get your managers in the room. So if you want to come to the taste of the day on the 20th, don't come on your own. Bring, you know, other partners, or bring 1 or 2 of your managers, or come gang-handed if you want. You know, we might have to then talk about just, you know, contributing to the day delegate rate, but, you know, to be honest, let's forget that. Just bring them along. Just let us know who's coming so we can cater for everybody, and we'll show you how it works in terms of you working together as a team and interacting with other like-minded accountants as well. Because it's worth touching on the fact that it's not just my content and the content that Douglas brings to the table as well. It's the content of the other firms in the room who've also got experience that where they can prove and share and help the other firms in the room succeed.
Excellent. Great.
Good introduction. Thanks.
Sorry.
Now, £120,000 might look a little bit on the ambitious side, particularly if you're looking at it from a partner perspective. But as soon as you start thinking about the capital value payoff, the cash flow payoff, and the profitability payoff, you can soon get things to add up to £120,000 over a 3-year window, and I'll run through the math shortly. And if we're wanting to add a degree of realism, we can always halve it and go, well, what if you did the program and you were £60,000 better off over the 3-year window? It wouldn't do anybody any harm in the firm if that's added to capital value or cash or profitability, or a blend of all of the above. And I'll run through those numbers shortly. Remembering that if we deliver the right stuff and you carry out the actions and we put the support to ensure those actions are fine-tuned and become habitualized. And I'm going to touch on habits. And if anyone's ever seen me present, they know I'm obsessed with driving habitual behaviors into the firm, because it's your point earlier, Vipul. It's one thing to leave an event with actions and not implement, but sometimes people leave events and implement, but don't turn it into habitual behavior in the firm.
Yep.
And so it fizzles out. And so we have an obsession to get it to a place where there's a habitual new behavior in the firm that results in driving direct debits from 30% every month up to 70% or whatever. So that's the other component that we're absolutely obsessed about on the Growth Academy.
Okay.
So I touched on past and future because both have got value and both have got merit. Most accountants spend most of the time talking about the past as opposed to talking about the future that's going on in their business owner clients. So we're in a meeting setting. If you're in that meeting, it's interesting to understand what percentage of time you're talking about past results as opposed to talking about future results. Now, I make reference to, here's a guy keeping score, I think he's a cricket match. So he's a scorekeeper, and most accountants are seen as scorekeepers, keepers of the score, as opposed to accountants who can have a conversation with a business owner and start to influence the game of that business. And you might call them game changers as opposed to scorekeepers. And it's that's what's going on in the Accountants Growth Academy is you and your firm getting brilliant at the basics, so that frees time up for you going to have more valuable conversations with more of your clients more often, and therefore be the game changer. And I know you talk about your parents and their accountant a lot, Vipul, and I think it's a great story, because that's where the magic and the value actually is. And actually, my experience of running a similar program over a decade ago in a joint venture with Durham Business School, and at one of those events, we'd have both business owners and accountants in the room, sharing with each other what actually ideally they want. And we did that 3 years on the trot, where we had business owners telling accountants who weren't connected with those businesses at all,
yeah,
what it is they wanted from their accountant. And to a man and woman business owner, over the 3 years, they said we wanted the accountants to advise us, to help us, and for us not to be asking them for advice, but for them to be on the front foot in a proactive way. And so, business owners are saying that they want help growing their business.
They do, but the truth is, Paul, most accountants either are too scared and don't have the belief that they can do it, or they see their job, as you described there, as a scorekeeper. And that's hopefully not, the reason there's people on the call today is they don't see themselves as that. But there are an awful lot out there that I'm sure you and I meet on an ongoing basis.
Indeed. But, behind everything, see, I think everyone's got to earn the right to be able to guide and advise a business owner to grow. And so part of that is, if you've got absolute confidence that the performance of your accounting firm is as good as it can get or close to, then that gives you a layer of confidence that you otherwise wouldn't have.
Yep.
Similarly, if you've changed things successfully and driven your volume of fees on direct debit, driven your sales and marketing to work better for you, driven lean processes into your production workflow planning, so that actually you're driving the output per full-time employee upwards and beyond £100,000 per person. You've done stuff in your firm that demonstrates that you know how to grow your business. And the confidence that comes from that then influences the conversations you have with your clients. And so that's part of the process here. And what happens often in the events is that there'll be some work. It's not me presenting as much as it is a conversation, and then conversations between the other firms in the room, you and other firms. And also, often we get into specific things about your firm or specific ways of doing things. So I hate to use this phrase because you wonder whether every accountant under the sun is now going to switch off when you go. We even do a little bit of role play in a safe setting around the way conversations work.
Yeah.
Business owners and accountants. And as a result, start to build a skill, which if they continue that rehearsal back at the office between them or on the way home in the car,
yep,
they are learning and practicing and building in the habit so that they get better at it in front of their clients. But that again requires capacity in the firm, and that's where, okay, we're going to talk about content. We're touching on content now, which is me contributing based on all of my experiences of thousands of one-on-one meetings with the owners, partners, directors, managers of accounting firms, the other firms in the room, and with you all contributing content. And like we touched on earlier, it's not just about the content, it's about the follow-up, accountability and support, and also it's about the measurement, so that over time you can see that your firm is progressing thanks to the work you're doing within the Accountants Growth Academy program, but actually what you're doing back at base, installing and implementing the new habits in such a way that they become normal and natural and support the future success of the firm. If you visual it, basically look at it like this, it's a Venn diagram with content, follow-up and accountability and the KPIs. So we're going to touch on, let me do the numbers. Each year, this is how it works. There are 3 events in a year. There are 3 follow-up processes, which include a phone call between each workshop and a visit between each workshop to provide both the support and the accountability. So can you see there's a workshop and a meeting and a call, or a call and a meeting, depending on how it all gets organised. And then there's another workshop, then there's a meeting and a call, then there's another workshop, then there's a meeting and a call. And that just rolls on. So there's content 3 times a year, accountability 3 times a year, and you have the opportunity. The green 3 is all about, tracking and measuring what you're doing so that you can see the performance and the results change.
And I guess the key is making sure that all the people who are responsible for the success of this program are involved in all of those 9 events. Would that be correct?
Yes, I think sometimes it's hard to put multiple people on a phone call.
Yeah.
Which is why the visit's so important as well, because it's about, mainly Douglas, sometimes myself, stepping into your office and having a dialogue following the event based on what we covered at the event, and I'll show you how the accountability process works, or what tools we've put in place in order to help that in a minute.
Okay.
Let's just deal with the sort of content, because this is going to be behind your decision whether you think the Accountants Growth Academy is worth it for you and your firm. Actually, that's not the decision. The decision is the content worth it for you to show up at the taster day and dive in deep and do that test drive? So we're going to focus on content. And I think this is certainly key to the capital value of your firm, is if the firm is significantly reliant on the partners, it's got less capital value than if it's less reliant on the partners and owners. And so one of the jobs that we do within the Growth Academy is work out how to waterfall work away from the top table, if you will, away from the directors and partners to the managers, which means we've got to work with the managers so that they can waterfall work away to the productive people in the team. And that's a key piece for us. And we know that this can be done because I've worked with firms and achieved this. The best story I've got is a sole practitioner who grew his firm from 600 to 1.2 million and went from a 6-day working week essentially to a 1-day working week, whilst taking anywhere between 13 and 16 months holiday. And this is a sole practitioner. And in fact, we had him come on to the Growth Academy and share some of his insights in terms of how he achieved that. I was committed to giving as much value on this webinar as I could, Vipul. And one of the key things that firm did, that partner, that sole practitioner did, was start a stop doing list. Stuff that he believed he should not be doing. And so he just created the stop doing list and then worked out how to offload the stop doing list.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds very simple because it is simple. There's, stuff that follows on from that. But ultimately, any firm you on this webinar now can go, stop doing this. That's a great idea. It's not a great idea. It's a remarkable idea. Because if you capture that and then work out how to stop doing that, you make the firm less reliant on you, and you drive the capital value of the firm up as well, by the way, probably the profitability. Because if the firm's less reliant on you, you can take more holidays if you want, or if you want, you can go out and win more business, or if you want, you can go and see more of your existing clients more often and deliver greater value, and therefore cross-sell more, and also grow your practice. And that's how the equation works.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a subject that repeatedly shows up throughout the program. Next, we've got get your existing people doing more work in less time with less stress. Clearly, if you're going to waterfall work away from the top table from the directors and partners, we've got to work out how to help our existing people get more done in less time with less stress. And there's a firm that we work with in Essex, who it's only a small firm. They're in 2017 turned over £530,000, and the team and the two owners were running around like scattered cats. In 2018, they turned over just over £600,000 and did and billed £150,000 in quarter one, £150,000 in quarter two, the same in quarter three, and the same in quarter four, because they brought predictability to their accounts and tax workflow. And because they'd flattened those curves off, it just removed a whole layer of stress across the team. It created capacity in the team for doing other work. And I was with them only 2 weeks ago, they reckon they can probably add another £80,000 to £100,000 in fees and work without hiring anybody else, all because of the way they've worked out how to reorganize their work and ensure that their existing people do more stuff in less time, as it were. And I think, if you can get to that place, you're enabling yourself to then hand over stuff on your off your stop doing list. So we will be touching on that as often as we can, depending on which subjects we talk about at which times. And to a degree, Vipul, it's the people in the room determine the starting point, and we'll manage that partly before we run the event on the 20th and partly on the day of the 20th to establish where we can deliver the greatest value to everybody in the room. Because my goal is that on that day, we work together in such a way that they can see the improvement in either cash, profit, or capital value that more than covers the cost of the program.
Great.
Now, this is one of the hot topics of the profession, I know, and we drive firms to do more with this, so making more from pricing for profit. Fancy label, but it's just, it's improving pricing processes. And yes, we talk around the software that's available, whether it be Go Proposal. And I know you had James on a webinar recently.
Yep.
It's a great product, and Practice Ignition have got a pricing process, and there's Mark Wicksham's tool, and there are other tools out there as well. But ultimately, it's not about the tool; it's about the process that turns pricing into a habit. And I'd like to run a poll if we can on this. Vipul, so we covered off early, didn't we, on pricing? Can you throw that question up now? Is that possible?
Yep, I'm just going to launch it now.
So the question is, what percentage of your existing business clients have an annual pricing conversation with you on a face-to-face basis? So it's you in a room with a client talking price. And I'm wondering how many of your existing clients have that happen to them every year? Or did that over the last 12 months? That's probably an easier reference point, isn't it? So if you can just tick what you think, up to a quarter of your clients have a face-to-face conversation as opposed to you sending it to them by email, or just actually sending the invoice with a 4% uplift, which is two of the typical strategies.
Yeah. So shall I stop it there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop it there. So about 70%, about a quarter, and then 10%, 10%, 10% in the other three categories.
So 3/4 of the firms on the webinar have face-to-face conversations 25% of the time, with only 25% of the clients. Is that right?
That looks like it, yeah.
And then the remaining 35% are split between the other three options.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're already in the top category, then fantastic, well done. The vast majority of firms on this webinar has suggested more work to be done, to be having more pricing conversations with more of your clients. And I'm a big fan of James talking up the fact that it's about having more pricing conversations. Well, it doesn't have to be annual, it can be quarterly. And certainly with certain elements of the job that you do for them, it should be quarterly. And so we will spend time on what are the behaviors and the habits that trigger you and your team to have comfortable, relaxed, confident pricing conversations with your clients. And that's where there's a lot of hesitation and stutter and stall around making the best out of the tools that are at your disposal on pricing. Or if you prefer your own Excel methodology, you know, there's I'm ambivalent, is that the right word? Are agnostic around the tool. Let's use the tool in such a way that clients appreciate what we're doing for them better. The team and you are comfortable talking price, and it results in the client choosing a price that is best for them. So there's all sorts of value for money issues wrapped up into that. And so we'll spend time, effort and energy in the workshops, some of the workshops certainly, on this, because clearly pricing is one of the components of driving the profitability of your firm up. And if we can get that right, you'll certainly move towards £120,000 arguably per partner over a 3-year window.
And I guess the key in all of this is using them habitually, to coin your phrase, and in the way they're intended, and not to then necessarily discount the service. And you come up with 1,200. Is there any chance we can do it for 1,000?
Yeah.
It's kind of making sure that you hold out and the client pays fairly and consistently with the rest of your client base.
Yeah, that's part of it. But ultimately, if we're not having a conversation, those things are never going to turn up anyway. So
yep.
The first habit to install is, and it will almost certainly be in a post-year end accounts meeting. So how do we therefore make a post-year end accounts meeting also be Does that make sense?
Yeah, Paul, I think you dropped out then. I've just turned my video off, so hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier.
Right. Cool beans, cool beans. So there's going to be plenty of work in and around pricing, only because it delivers such a significant uplift in both profit and, by the way, in helping your clients buy additional services from you. Because the pricing conversation is also about what else you can do for your clients, and how do we drive those habits, as well as also the next one, which is how do we help you drive a greater level of monthly and quarterly direct debits into your firm over time. Because clearly, if you've got let's say you've got a £2 million turnover firm, and two £2 million turnover firms, one's got 30% of their fees on monthly direct debit, and the other one's got 70% of their fees on monthly direct debit. One's clearly going to have a greater capital value than the other, and so plus there's going to be less stress around cash management in one as opposed to the other. And so we'll definitely spend time, effort, and energy on proven processes that drive debtors down, direct debits up, and also work in progress down as well, and therefore put more cash in your bank. So we'll definitely spend time on that. Another area is in sales and marketing. So, attracting high value clients and converting high value clients. So this is all about the skills and habits in face-to-face meetings with prospects. And I found it interesting. I recently did an exercise with one of the firms I consult with one-on-one, and their key manager, who's involved in most of the sales meetings with the high value prospects, we did an exercise where essentially a role play exercise, and we unpicked some of the things she was doing well and some of the things that she was doing less well, which has provided some fantastic insights that I want to share with firms over the next 12 months, both on the AGA and with the ones that I'm consulting with one-on-one. So there's huge potential uplift, but why would we start focusing on marketing and selling and winning more work if we haven't got the engine room of the firm working brilliantly? And to a degree, that means the use of technology, but also the ways of using the technology to ensure that workflow flows through the jobs flow through the firm really fast and elegantly and efficiently. So minimizing write-offs and maximizing recoveries. We do what we can to get guest speakers on each of the workshops. Doesn't happen in every one, but and that's a blend of technology experts, marketing experts, and actually firms who have made significant strides forward in installing some of the content that we're sharing with you now. And then last but not least is the use of KPIs, key predictive indicators for your success. I deliberately use not key performance indicators, but key predictive indicators. These are the activity numbers that drive the success of your firm. Cool. So that was essentially, Vipul, a list of the sort of content that shows up in each and every workshop within the Accountants Growth Academy. Clearly, we can't cover those 8 subjects in each workshop, so we pick and choose, and it's not unusual for example, with a group that's already running, we've had pricing show up over the last 3 years. Bearing in mind there's been 9 events over that 3-year window. We've had pricing show up 3 times in quite a lot of detail.
Okay.
Once each year, in order to revisit, fine-tune, and drive another layer of profitability attached to pricing across each of the firms.
Understood.
We're not averse to revisiting content, because we know we don't live in a perfect world. You know, we find some stuff, we go and install, we get the accountability, and we fine-tune it, and then, you know, whether it be the next event or 2 events later or 4 events later, we've got firms going, Paul, can we touch again on such and such, and we'll sound out the people in the room and get the general thumbs up and revisit a subject in order to drive another layer of effectiveness and profitability and capital value into the business. So what I'm trying to show here is that it's not us driving the agenda, it's the firms driving the agenda as much as us.
Yeah, and it's an all-day thing, as though it's making sure.
We typically start at 9:30 and we finish at between 4 or 4:30, depending on where we are regionally in the UK.
Yeah.
Where do we host the events? The group that we've got running at the moment, I've got a firm in Belfast, a firm in the Midlands, a whole host of firms in the Southwest, the Southeast, one in the Southwest, and one in East Anglia. So I've got 11 firms, and so over the last 3 years we have been to Norwich, we have been to Belfast, we're in Bristol for the 2nd time, and we've been in the Southeast a few times. So what we're looking to do is just even up the travel and accommodation pieces for all of the firms, so it feels fair as a group, because one of the magic things that happens is the sense of camaraderie that builds within the group, and they support each other even when we're not in the room. So I think that's just fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So support, how does this, and accountability, how does this work? So this is all about the follow-up. So before we get to the follow-up, I think we need to touch on how do we finish the workshop. And at each workshop, there's at least 2 of my team members. At the one that we're running in June, there's maybe 3, Douglas, Kate, and Sally. And the reason I bring that up is all of us are involved in the support piece. And at the end of a workshop, that last session, you know, we have lunch, then we have a session, then we have coffee, and that last session before everyone departs, we focus on this form and talk through in a fair amount of detail what needs to happen in order to ensure that you and your firm do implement, even before we factor in the accountability. The form looks like this, dead simple. We're using old technology here, Vipul, because this is one of the, I don't know if you remember those carbon copy things. So there's a 3-part form this is, and you fill it in, and we get a copy, you get a copy, and a copy goes to Douglas for the visit. So that we're all, you know, no one can hide from what we've got. And I know we could do one and take a picture and all the rest of it, but I quite like this old tech, forgive me. And the form looks like this. And this is a real form. I've anonymized it so you can't see the name of the firm, which I think is only fair. If we just focus in on this top one. So as you can see, SMART goal. So we do what we can to help the firms in the room, people in the room, narrow down a SMART goal. This firm's gone for redo agenda for post-year-end accounts meeting and formalise the accounts pack and send out before all meetings by the end of March 19. And then also tell me what questions with the agenda that they're going to put into the meetings. So they've got 3 SMART actions, if you will, that they want to follow through on. Independent of that, they've got a KPI they want to track, measure and drive home, which is they've currently got 50% of their fee income on monthly or quarterly direct debit, and they want to increase that by 2% per month. Now, if I'd have seen this form, I'd have gone, no, you can't have that. Is rather than 2% per month, just give me a number, a hard cash number, and then tell me which clients you're going to convert onto DD next month, which adds up to that number, and that'll be part of the accountability process.
Yeah.
So they've got SMART goal, they've got KPIs. Over here we've got what might hold you up, so what's going to stop, what's going to get in the way, and they reckon what's going to get in the way is the fact that they've not yet got rid of a few what they call pitter clients, pain in the neck, or you can substitute neck for day, and they want to ask the team to name their pain in the neck clients so that they can work out how to ask them to go or pay significantly more so that they're become valuable pitted clients, which is at least a halfway house. And then last but not least, what are the scripted next steps? So by the end of March 19, they're going to work with a proposal to review all clients and compare against what we charge at the moment. So, and they've done that. I know that based on a meeting I had with them a few weeks back. And they're going to review all the weekly KPIs to make sure they're taking action on those, again, based on the conversation I had with them. And they're going to ensure the team, my videos, so just remove that, is accountable for them going forward. So they've had a really good shot at actually covering what we believe are the bases of what you need to do in order to ensure that you leave each workshop with a really clear idea on what needs to happen. Now, I've deliberately not chosen the perfect form here because none of us are perfect. What I like to see in the scripted next steps is a specific date in which they're going to make stuff happen within the firm. Now, I know they've said by end of March 19, they're going to have sorted out the Go Proposal piece. But what I actually want to see is we're going to do 2 sessions on Go Proposal, 2 hours the second week in March on Tuesday, and 2 hours the 4th week of March, also on a Tuesday, so that it's influencing their daily. So that then enables each firm, you as you listen to this webinar, leave the workshop with a really clear idea, but also we know what you're doing or what you're intending to do, so that when we put the phone call in, that will agree a date and a time for, and the meeting that will agree a date and a time for what we're going to talk about. It gives us an agenda for our meeting and our call, and that then enables us to be genuinely supportive and hold you to account. Any questions on that, Vipul?
No, I think, that's kind of the key thing, that, it's practical things that firms can do, which are measurable in terms of achieving the overall goals. I think that's to me the key part of this program, that I see of value to the firms that.
And what we're going to do as a consequence of the June 20th day is, although we're not going to come and visit you, we are going to set up at least 1 accountability call, ideally 2, in order to help, whether you choose to come on the program or not, in order to help ensure that you genuinely get value from the day on the 20th. So at least we've met our end of the bargain, as it were, which is helping you deliver value for being in the room on the day.
And what's the guarantee that you give to firms, Paul, just so that they understand?
Yeah. The guarantee, there's no contract to be part of the Growth Academy. So you're not signing up for 3 years, you're not signing up for a year, so you can bow out any time. We do that deliberately because we know it forces us to deliver. Similarly, if each year, if you get to the end of the year and go, well, that wasn't worth it, then we have a grown-up conversation. Go, Paul, no way was that worth, the investment, the £10,000, £11,000, whatever it is. I'd like all my money back, and I'll write you a check. I've got no interest in extracting money from accounting firms who don't get value from what we're doing. By the way, that also forces us, if you don't consistently take action, it gives us the opportunity to get a little bit, not narky, but, genuine accountability, because actually you're only going to get value from this program if you do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And so it also puts us in a position that we might ask you to leave, hand you your money back and ask you to leave if you're not actually following through on the actions. And so the guarantee, Vipul, is as much for us as it is for the peace of mind of the firms joining in.
Yeah.
It gives us the right, if you will, and the drive to really hold the firms to account.
No. And I think it's really important. Yeah, it's really important that they understand that it's a two-way thing. It's not some magic formula that we wave a wand and things happen. It requires action on the part of the firm and the people in it. So, great.
So people ask me, Vipul, what's the ideal, the firms that you work with, whether it be on the Growth Academy or one-on-one, what's the ideal firm? I said, well, it's a firm with ambition and maybe a bit of frustration because they're not getting out of the firm what they believe they should be getting.
Yep.
So that's like two sides of the same coin. Ambitious but frustrated a little or a lot. I don't mind. And then the other part is they take action.
Yeah.
They're serious about this. We're not playing at it. They're genuinely serious. So if they're ambitious, a little bit frustrated, and they take action, Growth Academy will work. And what we're doing with them will work. If one of those is missing, it won't work. There is another bit, which is we've got to like you and you've got to like us, otherwise it just won't work. But what we generally find is the vast majority of accountants are really nice people, so that last bit's an easy one to tick. So that's the kickstart of the accountability process. Thanks for bringing up the guarantee, Vipul. I've not actually put a slide up for that because for me it's what drives us to ensure that the accountability. Now, I thought it'd be prudent to go, well, you're going to hear a lot from me at the workshops. So who the heck am I? Well, I've already touched on the fact that I have been a business owner for the last 28 years, run a manufacturing business, ran a training business, and I've now been running a consulting business for the last 13 years, purely focused on accountants. And I'm an open water swimmer. I referee rugby matches. I've got 4 children, and I only share this stuff because one of the magic things around the Growth Academy is the fact that actually we all get to know each other, and we have a bit of a laugh, but it's fun with a serious intent. What we do is encourage firms to come the night before, in order that we can have a bite to eat and a glass of wine, not too much because we want to be fresh for the following day. If wine's your thing, if it's not, then there's alcohol-free beer and soft drinks and so forth. But it's just gathering to create a sense of, right, we're in this together, let's drive all of our firms forward. Now, my background is a manufacturer making sofas and chairs, not dissimilar to this. And it's the experience of running a manufacturing production workflow business that enables us to see ways and means of radically improving the workflow of accounting firms, which is one of the basics that we've got to get to in order to free your team up to do the other stuff that will deliver great value for you and your firm. So I thought it was worth touching on that. There's a few firms that we've worked in the past, but we don't need to dwell on that now. And last but not least, KPIs. Just thought it'd be worth just telling a few stories here, Vipul, just so that we can establish some credibility here. Yep. 3-partner firm, worked with them for a year or so, actually a couple of years, and then we were able to work out how to help them get from £1.5 million turnover to 1.8 million, and that happened within just under a year. 18 months later, they'd turned the 1.5 into 2.1 annualized. So they'd added 600k in an 18-month window because of a few processes that we'll share on the Academy attached to the way they work with their clients, the way they ran their meetings with their clients, resulting in new client acquisition, as well as a whole raft of cross sales that actually added 600 grand to the turnover of the business in an 18-month window, which works out about about £33,000 on average per month over the 18 months, which is not bad at all. Not bad. So this is a story about a 500k. No, it's not. It's a £5 million turnover firm that had been flatlining for several years and consistently did 5 million plus or minus a little bit. And we just did 1 year's work together, and they had the best fees and profits they'd had in 6 years by adding something £575,000 in a year to the turnover of the firm, which they hadn't seen for several years before that. Again, because we changed the way they talked and finished off a meeting with their business owner clients, and they just focused on the top 40 clients and added a significant layer of fees in a 12-month window. And last but not least, a small 2-partner firm, and again, I saw them a few weeks back, and every year for the last 5 years we've worked together, they've achieved the best profit ever in the history of the firm. And Q1 of this year was the most fees and most profit they've ever had in any other quarter over the last 5 years. So just to demonstrate that, and okay, I haven't put the firms' names because they haven't given me permission to quote their specific firms. But when firms do give me that permission, I do share those stories in detail. In fact, have some of the firms come into the Growth Academy to share their stories, so that they can see it for real rather than it coming out of my mouth. So that's just a hint of the sort of KPIs that some firms achieve working with the team at Remarkable Practice, which includes what we're doing on the Growth Academy. So one way of looking at this is we call it the Accountants Growth Academy, but we could call it the Partner Growth Academy, Vipul, or we could call it the Personal Growth Academy if it was from a manager's perspective, or we could call it the Practice Growth Academy. I think it sets your firm up to also be a growth academy that helps you influence what your clients are doing, because the stuff you'll learn that you apply to your firm will apply to quite a lot of your clients too. And in there lies the ROI. So I just want to quickly rifle through the numbers, as I said I would at the beginning, Vipul, and then we'll turn to questions so that I can answer anything that anyone's firing up. So ROI is attached to the content which we ran through earlier, from, make your firm less reliant on you, reduce debtors, drive your prices up, cross-sell, get your existing people doing more work, and so forth. And we want you to test drive it. And yeah, we touched on how you get to us. Right, here's the numbers. I have 120 grand in mind, please. So what if we work in year one in such a way that you and your team add £20,000 to either the fee base of your firm, and you could argue therefore that would add to the capital value to the tune of 20k. If you did do that, you'd also be adding profitability as well, so it'd be worth more than £20,000. And if you improve your direct debit performance and you've got more cash into the business and you reduce WIP, we could easily talk that 20 grand up further. But the 20k that you've driven up this year also applies to next year, when we'll also be working together in order to add another 20. And then in year 3, we'll have the two that we've established a base, if you will. So we'll get those two 20s again, and then we'll work together for another year and add another layer of £20,000, which all adds up to £120,000 worth of payoff by being part of a growth academy where there's 3 events, 3 support processes, including a call and a visit between each event, and the KPIs, which hopefully will deliver a result like this. Now, if we're being less ambitious and more realistic, and not just talk about 120,000, but take the 20,000 down to just 10. Sorry, let me just put the prices up first. So I need to move my videos out of the way. There we go. So it's comparing the fees over the 3 years. It adds up to 32 grand, which sounds like a lot of money to me. Which works out at £10,000, £10,680 a year, which works out at £890 a month. And that's if you're a 3 to 5 partner firm. So you divide that by the number of partners and it starts to look more reasonable, especially if you're going to deliver £120,000 worth of result for the firm. And gosh, what if that was per partner? It makes it even more of a payoff, and that is our goal on the program. If you're a 1 to 2 partner firm, the price is a little bit more modest to reflect the size of your firm, and therefore the payoff looks even better. But can you see, Vipul, if you've got 4 partners and 2 partners and they all get the same per partner payoff, there's going to be significant payoff for all parties for us not to worry about it.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it's really important to bring along the other partners, not the ones that desperately want to make things happen. It's, if you bring the others along, it will reduce the how can I put it,
resistance,
conflict, resistance, whatever you want to say, but actually together it's so much stronger rather than one person trying to push through a project.
Correct. And there's one of the firms on the program that we're running at the moment, and they're a 3 partner firm, and 2 of them show every time, and the other one shows occasionally.
Yeah.
And I know that at the next event, those 2 partners are bringing along 2 of their managers.
Yes.
Not sure whether the other partner's coming along or not. So they're creating a sense of momentum around the program. And there's a 4 partner firm, and one of the partners has never been. but he's the senior partner. He's in his 70s. He's happy to do what he does and happy to see all the others drive the firm forward, while he just continues doing what he wants to do. But he's not holding the firm back.
Right.
So that's definitely part of the magic, if I can call it that.
Sure.
All right. So I like to, okay, £120,000 does sound ambitious. So I like to if we just halve that and turn it to 60 and turn the £20,000 into £10,000 each year. Even if you're a 3 to 5 partner firm, there's still a significant payoff over the 3 years. In fact, there's a significant payoff each year, but it builds clearly as you go through the program. And even if you turn it down to just a modest £5,000, you're looking at a break-even scenario, and there should be no reason in the world that we don't get anywhere between £5,000 and £10,000 uplift per partner for every firm that comes on the program.
And I guess that's why the accountability piece is really important, because you're measuring it as you're going along.
And we're sounding out each of the partners and owners and managers in every accountability meeting, as well as round the bar, round lunch, round coffee at the events as well. There's lots of that. Can you see? There's 9 interactions a year. So you go, well, it looks like quite a lot of money, but there's got a lot of activity taking place to ensure that you've got the right content, the right accountability, and the right support to deliver for you to do the action. So we're doing everything we can to drive you to do what you need to do.
Yeah, excellent.
And it just puts it into context in terms of 1 to 2 partner, 3 to 5 partner, just so that there's a fairness in terms of the weighting of the investment, the cost of the program.
And if it's larger, it's a separate conversation. But there's programs that you run for larger firms that
once you get
run independently,
6, 7 partners and beyond, it tends to make more sense to work one-on-one. And
Yeah.
I do, Vipul, I've got 1 to 2 partner firms working with me one-on-one, and I've got 3 to 5 partners working with me one-on-one. But because of the scale and complexity of a 6 partner firm and beyond,
yes,
it tends to be better to have a one-on-one program.
Right.
Clearly, it's going to cost more than what's on the.
No, of course. No. It's just to make sure, because there's firms in the room that are larger. And obviously there may be people accessing the recording afterwards, to make sure that they're aware that there are programs. It's just a different conversation, that's all.
It is. I mean, I'm going into a 7 partner firm on Monday evening, having dinner with all the partners before we have a strategic day on the Tuesday morning. And then in the afternoon, we're having a full session with all the directors and managers involved in production workflow planning, in order to drive home in a really quite aggressive way the improvements this firm actually wants for their teams maxed out. And it doesn't need to be, because we just need to get a couple of processes working where they'll benefit their production workflow and
excellent
efficiencies and so forth. So thanks for pointing that out, Vipul. That's great. So hopefully what we've been able to do is demonstrate the potential ROI for just joining the taste today. Really, that's what this webinar is about. It's making a decision to, I'm going to invest in a day and just see whether Paul's worth his salt and whether the process is worth its salt before I make a decision to join the whole program. Hence the image of the guy getting into test drive his car. And the taste of days on June the 20th in Birmingham, and we'll almost certainly be running one in just post the summer. We get to sort that out. But what we're looking to do is, if we can get a third or half the firms who are up for joining the program to work with us on June the 20th, and then we'll know what we're having to handle Vipul going into the autumn to then fill up the group, because we're not going to start the group until we've got at least 8 firms.
Yeah.
So that's the level. 7's really too few. 8, we know we can get the dynamic that works well, and if we can drive that to 12, we will not put any more than 12 firms on the program, because we know if 12 firms are bringing 2, 1, 3 managers, we get up to 36, 40 people. That's about where it needs to be. Any bigger than that, it starts to get a feel a little bit unwieldy and less intimate. We lose the camaraderie and the drive across each of the firms.
Okay.
All right. So I think given where we're at on time, I just wonder if there's anyone's got any questions, or any questions have come through already, Vipul, that we can chip into.
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of, I mean, did you want to do one of the polls about, just to get a feel for, you know, in terms of cash?
Yeah.
You know, how many people currently use direct debit? So whilst that's, people are polling for that, if anyone's got any questions, please put them on the Q&A or the chat, and between Paul and I, we'll deal with them. In terms of the firms, I mean, you've given some examples. Is that representative of the general results that firms get, providing they stick to the knitting and do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah. So you want hard numbers, I guess, from me? Yeah.
No, I'm not hard numbers, but I'm just saying, is that representative, providing firms do what they say they're going to do?
Yes.
Fine. That's it. That's all I needed.
You know, if in year one, invest £10,000 plus or minus to be there.
Yeah.
And the program will pay for itself.
Yes.
It'll pay for itself. If it doesn't, ask for your money back.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, I'd like to think that you're going to get double your money back, because what we do on pricing and maybe a bit on production workflow planning, you'll see double that.
Yes.
If you've got multiple partners, there should be no reason why you couldn't get more. So you've got to come on this with an ambitious mindset. And go, if I'm going to spend 10 grand in a year for 3 years, 10 grand in a year, and then bow out, I want to get 30 grand back.
Yes.
Or I'm going to get 50 grand back, or I'm going to get £100,000 back in year one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going in not tomorrow, the day after, to do it for one of the firms on AGA at the moment. They've decided that they need to get clarity on the strategic direction of the firm. So we're having a strategic day with the 3 directors, because they've been fixing the nuts and bolts, but what they want to do is have the nuts and bolts fit a plan over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And we're not going to leave that room until they've got a crystal clear plan in terms of all the big picture stuff of the firm, the building, the team, clients, all the stuff that makes up, and also delivers on the personal goals of the directors. Now,
fantastic.
We can't do that in a group setting.
Yeah.
Because it's too personal.
It is.
They've asked us to do that separately, so we just agreed that an extra work order for that, and we've got an additional follow-up program that process that and ensures that they follow through on that. And then the chances are they'll do what another firm's just recently done, is put a team day on.
Yes.
Because once they've got the strategy worked out, we need to get the team on board with where we're going and where we're taking the firm.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next thing, that presumably one of the things that is not necessarily measured is the happiness of the team and the retention and all those things, which inevitably have an impact, because you're not paying recruitment fees, your clients are happy because they see the same people year in, year out.
Correct. I read a stat recently, Vipul, that was when someone leaves you, the net cost, hard cost to the firm, is 10% of their salary.
Yeah.
So if they were a 40 grand person leaving, the net cost of the business is 30k.
Yeah.
So if you create a working environment where people stay rather than go, then you stop those losses. Now we can't. How do we track and measure that? We can't.
You can't.
How do you track and measure the sense of pride the owners have of the new way of working?
Yes.
That's tough.
No, it is. I mean, it is. I accept that, but it's the intangible thing that, as being part of the program, that everyone feels happier, not just the owners. It's the people that turn up every day and work hard to deliver great service to the firm's clients. So great. Okay, fantastic. I guess Paul, thank you very much for today. The key thing now is for people to sign up, make time in their diary to join Paul and the team on the 20th of June. But complete the form anyway, and we'll be in touch with you in terms of Paul's team, just to see how the remarkable practice can support you in moving the whole process forward.
Yeah, indeed. And it's, you know, just to reiterate what we need to do, Vipul, is get to your website, which is, you know, search, Google AdvanceTrack and click on that events button.
Yeah.
And what will then happen is you'll see, if I can, you know, that the Growth Academy is there.
Yeah.
And then that'll take you to the form to complete, and we'll hopefully see you on June the 20th. Great.
Fantastic. And just the final poll that we just put in there, about half the room have got more than 25% on direct debit. So,
right,
you know, heading in the right direction,
yeah, brilliant.
which is great. So
I've just come from a firm this morning, Vipul, and they've got 34, 35%, and we've just agreed a process and a plan that takes them to 70% before they get to December. And, you know, that's a reasonable conversation for us to have in the Growth Academy.
Yeah.
Across the firms. Because once you get to that place, most, if not all, of the costs of the firm are covered every month.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Excellent.
that just eases the, you know, stress levels across the firm, director level and the rest of the business as well. And then you go, right, well, if you can then drive it onto 80, 85, 90, then you've got, you have significantly increased the capital value of your firm, externally and internally, if that's what you want. But actually, you've created huge peace of mind and a sense of satisfaction.
No, fantastic. Well, like I say, from my point of view, that's great. I mean, we do put a lot of webinars on, so keep an eye out. We'll be announcing the next one in the next week, but it's been a great one. And, you know, I hope enough, you know, you've seen enough today to take that step, and look forward to seeing you on the 20th or sometime in the autumn. But yeah, thanks again.
Your form on the website gives an opportunity to put some stuff in. If people have got questions, if they put the details in and stick questions in there, we'll ultimately pick up the phone and respond to them and reply by email as well. So we just want to create a conversation, a dialogue around this stuff so we can deal with everybody's queries and get them into the room on the 20th and deliver some great value.
Brilliant. Fantastic. All right then. Thanks again. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.